Oh, hello, this is Tak Chung from Walk with Tak. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video and would like to receive notifications of my future video postings, please subscribe. In this video, I would like to show you how to cook a dish with ketchup, and there is a story behind it. A couple of years ago in one of my cooking class, at the end of the class, one of the students came up to me and she asked me, do you have a recipe to cook a dish with ketchup in the wok? I will call her Kim for the purpose of this video. Kim told me that her husband loves ketchup. He likes to put everything with ketchup, whatever he eats. He is a picky eater, she said. However, if I put ketchup in anything, then he probably would eat it. She said, I would like to have him eat more vegetables, but I really don't know how to do it. So now seeing your system, if I can include ketchup in the dish, I think I might have a chance. I told her that I would love to help her, and I said I will write to you in a few days and give you some idea of what to cook with ketchup. It turned out that cooking with ketchup is not unusual for me at all, because when I was growing up, ketchup was extremely popular. Of course, it still is, and people start to incorporate ketchup into stir-fry dishes. One of the very popular dish is to cook ketchup with ground pork and with some other vegetables. In fact, I have a template which is similar to that, although I do not use ketchup anymore, but I could easily add ketchup to it and give it that ketchup flavor. So about a week later, I called up Kim and I told her the idea that I have and asked her whether she's willing to go and give it a try. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I'm going to cook this dish. Now, I'm going to call it a template because it is just a general idea, and you are free to modify it based on what is available to you and what is your personal preferences. I'm going to cook this dish with pork, but you can actually use beef as well. I like pork because I think pork gives better texture and flavor than beef when you cook in this capacity. Also, if you're tight on budget, pork is definitely a little bit cheaper. So I'm going to use about 8 ounces of ground pork. Now, normally when I purchase the pork after I bring it home, I will freeze them in 8-ounce package, and I freeze them in a very thin layer. So when I'm ready to use it, all I have to do is to put it in the sink, and it will be thawed out in about 10 minutes. As you can tell that the pork is really not the main ingredients of the dish. I treat pork more as a condiment for the dish. So for this dish, I'm going to use 4 different kinds of vegetable. First, I'm going to use some tomatoes. I'm going to dice up the tomatoes which come from my wife's garden. Next, I'm going to dice up some red onions. I want to cut the onion relatively small so they will blend well into the dish. Since I'm cooking this dish for our family dinner, and since my son loves jalapeno pepper, so I almost have to put in some jalapeno pepper for him. Well, the last ingredient is for the cook, because I love sweet corn, so I'm going to put in some frozen corn as well. Now, this dish is very fast to cook, particularly if I have everything prepped in advance. In this case, I need to just chop up some of the ingredients, but it only takes me a few minutes. Now I have everything set out and I am ready to cook. I'm going to use my Cucina 14-inch stainless steel wok to cook this dish. First, I put the wok on the stove and I turn the stove to high. I heat up the wok for about 30 seconds and I add 2 tablespoons of canola oil. I let the oil to smoke gently, and then I turn the heat down and I allow the oil to smoke for another 15 seconds. And this is the time when the wok is being seasoned. This is my spot seasoning method. And if you're not familiar with this method, you can take a look at this video. Okay, now the oil is really hot. It is perfect. I'm going to add the ground pork to the wok. I always add the ground pork first because I want the temperature really high. Because once you add any food ingredients to it, the temperature will drop. So I want to add the ground pork when the oil temperature is at its highest. It is at this temperature, as you can see, the ground pork is being browned. And I want to brown it because I want to create the flavor through the Maillard chemical reactions. And because of this reason, you always want to add something that you think will generate most flavor in the beginning of the cooking process. Next, I'm going to add about 1 cup of diced onion to the wok. I decided I'm going to add the onion a little bit earlier because I want the flavor of the onion to blend better into the pork. Now, if you add it later, the onion flavor or the texture of the onion will be definitely more distinct. The next step is adding the jalapeno pepper. Now, as you see that I have included the seed of the jalapeno pepper as well because my son likes things really spicy. So this way will give him a nice kick. Again, there is some logic of when you should add your jalapeno pepper. Now, if you want your pepper as spicy as possible, then you will add it later during the cooking process. If you want it to be more blend into the food ingredients, then you add it really early. Because the cooking process will neutralize the active ingredients of the jalapeno pepper. Next step is for me to add the diced tomato. Now, I dice the tomato so that it will blend into the ingredients better, and also it is faster to be cooked. The next step is I'm going to add the frozen sweet corn. I'm going to take the corn directly out of the freezer and dump it into the wok. You don't need to thaw them out because they will fall out while they are being cooked. Now, in my case, there's some logic for me to add the corn later during the cooking process because I really like the texture of the corn. I know if I add them too early, they will be overcooked. So I'm going to add them later so when I eat the corn, I can still feel the kernels. So I stir the content to make sure the corn is melted and properly cooked. And then I did a taste test to see what it tastes like. And now the strategy for me in cooking this dish is that I'm not going to season this dish with any other seasonings other than ketchup because this way the ketchup flavor will really stand out. Next I add ketchup. I add a generous amount of ketchup. As you can see, the consistency of this dish is relatively thick. I want it to able to go over rice, so I want to make more of like a sauce with it, so I add some more water to the dish. You probably noticed that while I add the water, I actually move the food ingredients away from the bottom of the dish to expose some part of the bottom of the wok that has some burn material attached to it. And I squeeze the water directly onto them, and I use my wok spatula as it almost magically I was able to loosen up those burn particles. I call this method spot cleaning, and you can take a look at this video for more details. It is really a very good way to clean the wok as you cook. Now the consistency has pretty much achieved what I desire, so I'm going to do another taste test. Well, I think I need more ketchup, so I get out my ketchup bottle and I squeeze more into the wok. After testing the content for the last time, it seems to be exactly how I would like it. So the dish is done. The total cook time of this dish is a little bit over 5 minutes. As you can see that it really doesn't take very much time. When you imagine if you go out to eat, you actually may spend more time waiting in line or waiting at the table to be served. To give you a better idea of how this dish is cooked, I'm going to compress the video and play it from beginning to end so you can see the entire process. Again, I would like to emphasize that what I'm showing you here is really a template, not a recipe. It just gives you an idea of the different steps that I take, and you can modify those steps according to how you like it. I try to explain to you the principle that I use in executing these steps so you can see how it could be changed to your preference. For example, you can adjust the order of how you want to add the ingredients to achieve the type of texture you want with those ingredients. To me, this is the beauty and power of template-based cooking. It gives you a lot of flexibility. Also, in terms of flavor, you can make actually dramatic change to the flavor. For example, if you don't like to have this ketchup flavor, you can season the dish with things like oyster sauce and hoisin sauce to give it more of a teriyaki flavor. Or you can add chili powder and cumin to give it a Mexican flavor. So I would like to report that this story has a happy ending. About 5 weeks later, Kim called me on the phone and she said her husband really loved this dish with ketchup in it, and he actually now asking her to cook more dish with ketchup, and she asked me, do I have some other recipes? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like icon below because this will help me to reach a broader audience. I am now posting about one video every day, and if you'd like to receive notifications of my future video postings, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll see you next time.